And just as you started talking about sexiest comedians, I realized, I don't know if you could tell, but I think I got like a piece of broccoli or something caught in my tooth. Can you see?
I can't. I think you're clear. Hey, everybody, and welcome to Top Fives with Don Sill. I'm your host, Don Sill, and we got another great top five in store for you today. It's the top five sexiest comedians of all time. And joining me today is the very funny Mitch Fatel. You could say he has a certain je ne sais quoi.
I don't even know what that means, but if it means camel toe, she had a lot of je ne sais quoi. She had an overabundance of je ne sais quoi. One could easily lose their coffee mug in her je ne sais quoi.
And as always, everybody, please subscribe, like, and comment. We want to know what you're thinking and who your top fives are. We know you think some comedians are sexy too. But without further ado, let's get right to this. It's me and Mitch Fatel with the top five sexiest comedians of all time. Now, when I came up with the idea for this list, because I was like, if Mitch Fatel agrees to do this with me, what better than the top five sexiest comedians? Because you've been talking about sex and being sexy for forever.
My whole career, yeah.
I love having a penis. Having a penis is kind of like having a friend that always wants to play.
You see, you're an expert.
But I didn't want to ask you too many questions because I was like, let's do this live because I didn't know, do you want me to pick out sexy girl comedians, sexy guy comedians, comedians we would have sex with, comedians we did have sex with? Like, I didn't know, so I was like, well, it'd be kind of more fun, I think, to figure it out live with you.
Yeah, I would love all of the above. Yeah, because like I had when sexy comedians is very broad statement, and you would first, you think, okay, the sexy women, we're men, so we would think sexy women comedians, but also sexy, if I was going to be objective, then I would think about male comedians and just across the board, because like guys like Eddie Murphy, who kind of was, I think, maybe one of the first heartthrob type of comedians, who with his leather outfit and strutting around and talking, he wasn't the first one to talk about sex, but he was the first one who was like young, and
he was like one of the first comedians to not kind of base this whole act on being self-deprecating, talking about that he's kind of a loser and can't get girls. Like Rodney Dangerfield, that had always been kind of the way comedians were supposed to present themselves, and I think we all kind of felt like nobody could ever be a really, like you said, a heartthrob and be a comedian.
Hey, kid, I know I'm ugly. I stuck my head out the window, got arrested for mooning.
And I guess he was, probably the first to pull that off, to look kind of cool in his leather and stuff,
Yeah, and then that kind of evolved through the years, and if guys like Dane Cook pulled it off, and his moment in the sun there.
She's naked. She pushes me away. She scampers back. She scampers. And then she kind of props herself up like this on the other side of the bed. And she's staring at me. She's just looking at me like she wants to fight me. And then she starts to play with her situation, right?
Right.
He was one of the college girls loved him and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But so and there's to me too, there's different types of sexiness of what is sexy, because you have attitude, you have physical, and then you have the Kavorka,
Like, I know there's a guy in the news right now, I remember working with him maybe on one of his not first gigs, but really, really early in his career. And I remember, and I'll tell you who it was. I remember he showed up for the gig, and I remember going like, man, this guy is way too good looking for comedy. And I remember thinking he's way too confident for comedy, and he destroyed. I did really good too, doing my shtick. But I remember thinking like, this isn't for this guy. He's too good looking, and he did great. And then just took off. My number 5 would be Joe Rogan. I remember seeing Joe Rogan, like just guy wise, like going like, that guy's not, like I remember all like being all pissed, like that guy's not, you're not supposed to be like a strong guy in comedy. And I was like, oh, maybe it can be. Like he just, and then I realized luckily, like he's really one in a billion. Like there's a reason why he became so famous. Like you're not going to find a lot of Joe Rogans in the world. And I guess I appreciate him more now that I'm an adult, just how stellar his career has been.
If dicks are gonna get that big, vagina's gonna have to grow too. Yeah! That's what evolution's all about. It's gotta fit. The animal has to adapt to its environment. So women's vaginas would grow 200-300 times the size they are now. The point where chicks could jump off cliffs and parachute to safety. Like giant flying squirrel pussy people.
Right, yeah, and he's a great example because like you said, he's always was like that from the very beginning. He comes from a fighting background and all that stuff, and then as soon as he took the stage, he approached it differently. Where at that time, it was normally kind of the victims were the comedians, not the bullies, so to speak. Not that he's a bully, I'm just saying, or the jocks or whatever.
No, I know, and I wonder if anyone could ever ask him, like, I wonder if he's ever been heckled, because we need our lines of a heckler, so he can just beat the shit out of anyone who heckles him. I mean, he's like a black belt martial artist. Like, he's going to be able to beat up anyone who heckles him. So I wonder if anyone's ever heckled him.
You go bikini or you go fucking bareback, bro. What do you want to do? You want to suck my cock or do you want to be my friend? One of them. You either want to suck my cock, you want to be me, or you want to be my friend. It's one of those. Or you want to compare yourself to me. You know why? Because people that are unhappy in life always want to shut other people down. It's a weird thing. They never want to see anybody do good. Yeah. If you are doing good, they want to go, I'm going to find the fault. What's wrong? What are you saying? Funny shit with a wallet chain on?
I'm sure he's gotten in some fights. I'm sure he has.
Yeah, probably. I've seen him. I saw him live years ago at Good Night's Comedy Club in Raleigh, and he was heckled by a woman. And
I've seen him be heckled by a woman as well.
Yeah, and those are the only ones that will do it because the guys wouldn't want to mess with them. Yeah.
What'd you say? What? Go ahead. What'd you say? You get your chance with total silence. Go ahead. Don't be a coward. For once in your life, stand up for what you believe in. Boyfriend, I don't have to listen to your stupid shit.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm assuming it's the stupidest thing to heckle a Joe Rogan show because you're just going to get decimated in front of millions of people.
Yeah, for sure.
Joe's the kind of guy. Joe is maybe the most competitive human being I've ever met in my life. And like I said, I used to work with him on some gigs every now and then. And I remember a gig where after the show, an old lady, like 80, came over to him, and this is a totally true story, Don. Like an 80-year-old lady came over and was like, and said to him, "You're too vulgar for me. You're too vulgar." And I remember he just unleashed on this 80-year-old woman, like, "You're just a fucking cunt," like, and just started like getting in her face and stuff. And I was sitting there like, Joe, she's 80 years old. She's not supposed to like you, but like, he was so competitive that like, he really didn't like even her telling him, and I sort of I thought he's gonna roundhouse kick her. Like and to this woman's, I guess, courage, she wouldn't back down either.
You're not burning anybody. That's dopey talk. That's dopey dum-dum talk. You're not burning people. What are you, fucking tough? You're gonna burn people? You're an out-of-shape older woman. You're not burning anybody.
You're out-of-shape younger woman.
I'm in very good shape.
I bet you are. Just keep working on it.
Don't touch me.
Don't touch me.
Don't touch me.
I know.
No, fuck, this is dopey shit.
And they were like face to face at Carolina Comedy Club. I'll never forget this.
Wow.
And I remember thinking like, that guy's gonna be really famous. Because if you're that competitive that even an 80-year-old woman, you don't want her telling you, like, that guy really wants like to prove he's good. And so maybe it's a demon in his head, maybe it was, because he's never talked too much about his parents, at least I haven't heard it, but I know that like one time I think he mentioned something about his dad being very hard on him. And that would explain the competitiveness that he has to prove something.
Yeah.
And that would explain why he became so strong and you know, but you look at him and you're like, the guy is just a star. Like, he's just a star.
Yeah.
And made me realize, like, oh, there are levels in everything in life.
And listen, if you've seen any of this show, and you said, I think some of the stuff you're saying is really funny, but I sense a lot of, like, macho posturing from you. I sense a lot of, like, bullshit, tough guy stuff. You're totally correct.
Yeah, and like you said, he's ultra competitive, and I think too, even at the time when he was extremely successful with Fear Factor, I think he wasn't satisfied with that because he felt like it dumbed him down, and I think he set out to prove anybody who thought that wrong, and then went to the next level. Now here he is with this podcast. He's probably one of the biggest, you know, most important voices out there right now. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. Like, the guy that I saw like years ago, like, he's setting COVID policy now. I'm like, how can you get that big that, like, the government is like fight? It's just, he's just a gem. I mean, I hope he has me on his show one day, because I would want to tell him that, like, he's kind of become a lot of people's heroes, and he's just a special human being.
We are all a calculation. We're all an ongoing, on-running calculation of all the interactions you've ever had with all the people you've ever met. And you do a bunch of things that people like and start doing more of that. You're like, I'll do more of that.
So yeah, Joe Rogan, great pick for number 5. My number 5, I also went with a man as well, just because I think when you talk about sexy comedians or sexual comedians, you know, we mentioned him earlier. You can't deny Eddie Murphy and his and what he brought to the table. He changed the game.
I think you're right. I don't know if I can remember anyone before him that was, like, known as a sexy comedian. Like, there were comedians that were sexy because they were insecure or vulnerable, but just kind of like, I remember, and I guess it was, I don't remember which one it was, but he's just strutting back and forth on the stage, and it looked like it could have been like, it looked like it could have been like a strip club show, like a male stripper. Like, it was just, and you're right, and he was funny too. So I think that's kind of that point as a guy where you're like, okay, I guess there are people more talented than me. Like, he's good looking and he's funny. Like, you gotta give it up. So.
Yeah, Eddie had all of those things. Like, he had the confidence on stage, which is sexy. He had the looks, the leather outfit, all that, and then he had that Kavorka. And then, like you said, then he was funny and he joked about his sexiness. Like, he had that whole bit in Delirious. He's like, I'm 21 years old now. I fuck.
These the fuck years for me. Like, I'm 20. I'm in my sexual prime. I fuck now.
He just gets into all that.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of, and you can hear the girls howling, and when he says it, you know.
Boy, what a first! You're right. I mean, it's just like, you know, we started out saying this is kind of like, you know, silly, like, but it is true. Like, it's amazing that there are people that kind of like took on the status quo. And we're like, no, I don't have to play by those rules, that we have to be Rodney Dangerfield, and we don't have to be, you know. I remember there was always this story about what, you probably know who I'm talking about. It's gonna kill me now. God, it came into my head. One of the old guys, Henny Youngman. You know, Henny Youngman was a goofy looking guy, but did you ever hear the rumor he had the biggest penis in comedy?
Yeah, I heard that. Him and what the hell's his name? Milton Berle.
That's who I'm talking about. Not Henny Youngman. Milton Berle is who I'm talking about. Same genre, whatever, like the Cats.
Right, same time period,
Yeah, and Milton Berle was a goofy-looking guy, but he apparently had this humongous fucking hammer.
Are you talking about my endowment? All I can say is that I'm still working on it.
And like, I remember hearing that going like, yeah, but he's still a goofy looking guy. But like, Eddie Murphy was the first to go, like, I can still say like I'm fucking sexy, and I don't have to act like I'm not, like I don't have to be the victim, like you said. So looking back, him and Rogan both, kind of took on the establishment of what you're supposed to be as a comedian. And still to this day, I think people are more comfortable with comedians that are self-deprecating. But every now and then, like, one of those guys breaks through and you got to give it up. You got to go like, okay, you did something really cool,
I get into bed. I get into bed. But think about it. When you get into bed, would you rather have somebody say, oh, make love to me, or grab the back of your head and say, fuck the shit out of me? Just fuck motherfuck me, goddamn.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it definitely takes a special person to be able to break that mold. Because I think that as an audience member, you want that guy up there that's the everyday guy, that's the loser, that's doesn't win all the time and gets the smaller piece of the pie, and you can laugh at him. But then there's always that one person that that you admire, that kind of thing, where he's the winner, he's the opposite of all that. And I think
and I think it takes a certain kind of talent. I think it takes a certain kind of can you still see me? I'm just trying to make this full screen.
Oh yeah, I see you.
I think it takes a certain kind of talent to take that on and go and then actually make people come over to your side. You know what it's like, kind of, Don? It's kind of like when you want to hate a sports figure because he's either on an opposing team and then there comes a point where you're like, okay, I can't, okay, Tom Brady's the best.
Right.
I can't pretend that it's because he didn't inflate the balls all the way anymore.
Right, exactly.
My wife and I, we were big Broncos fans, and we just used to talk about Tom Brady's the cheater. Tom Brady's that, and then one day we're like, okay, he's probably the best quarterback.
Does that one? Yeah. That's a great way to put it. Yeah.
And I think that's almost a great moment as a human being, because it almost challenges your preconceptions of things, and it makes you a better person. And I think it makes the world clearer for you and for other people as well.
Exactly, man. Well put.
Goonie Google. What the fuck does Goonie Google mean, guys?
All right, so I know you're kind of going off the cuff here. Who do you have for number 4? Who do you think of number 4?
Number 4 is not really known yet, but I think she's going to become known. I think she's going to be very famous one day, and she's genuinely hot. And she's so hot, she was just in Hustler magazine. Her name is Karen Feehan.
I think I know her. So she's a New York comic, right?
New York comic. She has, I think, the Joe Rogan. She has that. She has something that's undeniable. I've worked with her a couple times. The first time I ever worked with her, a lot of people came to my show, and I didn't know why. She was opening for me. And I looked, and on Instagram, she had put a promo video of her in her panties and her bra, weightlifting.
Yeah.
And I remember going okay, that's not a comedian. That's just that's like a piece of art. And then she did the show, and she's fucking edgy and funny and takes on and says things about how hot she is on stage.
I hump a lot. Do you guys hump? You guys hump. Or you guys, it doesn't matter. I'm really good at it. It's one of my things. I have to be on top, though. I'm always on top. That way it's easier for me to give high fives to the imaginary people in my room.
And she says, I'm the hot girl or whatever. And I'm like, but she says it, and you're like, you can't help but go yeah, she's Joe Rogan as a female. She's gonna. So my shout out to her. God, I want to have sex with her so bad. She's so hot.
She is hot. She has a very sexual aura too. Just the way she carries herself, the way she talks, the way she looks at you. Not that she's ever looked at me directly, but the way she looks at the audience, it's very sexual. She is very funny. If you go on her Instagram, people watching, you can probably see a few ass pics. She posts a lot. She's very proud of her ass. Yeah.
Tons of her ass. She was just in Hustler. She's got an OnlyFans. She's unabashedly I'm hot. I got a great body. I'm funny. She did this thing there was a show where she just put down a fat girl,
yes.
and it was and people were hating on her, and I was like, I don't think you get it. Like, the fact that you're hating on her makes her more brilliant.
I will not wait to live my life, and I will assert that I am a worthy human being and that I deserve basic respect. That is what fat people want.
Somebody who says that they're happier than they've ever been, you sure cry a lot.
I look at her and I'm like, 5 years, you watch. Like,
Yep. I agree with you. And that thing with the fat, she this is like before the cancel culture was really heavy duty.
Right.
Like, they were trying to cancel her for the fat shaming and all that stuff, but she, you know, moved right through that, barreled right through that. But yeah,
there's some people that can do that by sheer talent and sheer, like, you know, I remember the days I worked for Howard Stern when Howard Stern would be canceled, saying he was, and I mean, he's not good anymore, but back then in the old days, he was able to like just laugh it off. And Karen does that too. And there's nothing that pisses off those cancel people more than like people just not going along with them. And I love it. I love it.
I just think you have a wall up and you're just full of excuses and you can cry and you can say you're happy. I just don't buy it. You're not going to convince me.
But there you go.
I just don't believe it.
How do I need you to buy my own life?
yes,
Because I hate those people with such a passion.
yes.
So to see someone like Karen just taking it on and not posting apologies and going like, this is who I am, like me or not like me. And those people hate that they can't engineer who's going to like those people, so they get pissed off. It's like those idiots that protest Louis C.K. If I want to see Louis C.K., I'm going to see Louis C.K., okay?
Right,
Like,
exactly.
stop. So
Exactly.
it's beautiful.
Excellent. Great pick. Karen Freehand.
There's a moral there. Don't push your baby down and spoil it. You'll be screwed.
My next pick, my number 4, is in the same wheelhouse as Karen, I believe, and it's Natasha Legero.
Legero, yeah.
Yeah, she radiates sex appeal, and she always has that look in her eye, the bedroom eyes.
Yeah.
You know, and she kind of looks like she's the type who would cheat, you know, but
yeah, she does. She looks like she would cheat, and then but she'd make you laugh about it. Like she'd cheat with you, she'd ruin your family, but she'd make you laugh at the same time that you're losing your family.
Exactly.
How do you even make a diamond? The only way I know how to make a diamond is to jerk off an old man.
We could have her totally wrong. She could be the most, but that's what she exudes. I agree.
Yeah. And I love her comedy, and you know, she's just brilliant. I think she has great material. She's great writing, stage presence, her cadence, everything about her is great. And she's not afraid to go head on into sexual topics. I don't think she ever gets as raunchy as some of her counterparts, you know, some of her equals out there. Right. But she definitely rides the line, and she's, you know, I know she's, you know, recently married, had babies and all that. Yeah. But I think she still is one of the most sexy comedians to come around. And
my friends who have babies can't do anything. You can't go out at night. Having a baby is like a DUI from the universe.
And in the same vein that we were saying, like, I actually think that's got to be, and I'm never a guy that goes, women have it harder and all that shit. But I will say this, like, to be sexy and make it as a comedian has got to be harder, because the women are not, they're going to tend to not laugh at you because they don't want to. It's like women going to a strip club with their husbands. Like, they don't want you to be attracted to the woman upstage. And that's why usually it's been the women who historically, like, and maybe the same thing with the guys. Maybe like the guys don't want the guy on stage to be. I know that one of the reasons I'm successful is that, like, or semi-successful, is that, like, women and men can laugh at me because I'm not really, even though I talk about how I want to have sex with their wives and stuff, I'm not really threatening. I'm 5'5", I'm adorable. I'm not really threatening.
It's so hard to have sex with girls. They're always so like, no.
Although I'm just a perv, but, you know, so I would assume even for Natasha it's even harder because of that same thing, you know?
Yeah, because if the guy goes to the club with his wife and he's watching this together, that the wife could watch him literally falling in love with her as he's watching the set.
Right.
Like, my girlfriend's convinced that her boyfriend broke up with her because of her bad karma. I'm like, did you ever think that maybe your boyfriend dumped you because you got fat?
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to know that you're, like, although you do want to know, I guess it's like you want to know that your husband or wife or girlfriend or boyfriend want to have sex with the person on stage. And, you know, maybe you don't want to know, but you kind of know inside. And maybe that person's so confident that you have to admit, like, okay, because I think, Don, don't you feel like as a guy, and maybe girls that go through similar things, you get to a stage where you realize, like, okay, I'm not the sexiest guy in the world, and I don't have the biggest dick in the world, and I'm not the best lover, but I may, and if a girl wants to fuck me, you know, but I don't have to be the best anymore. So I think that that's almost where you kind of come full circle, and then you can start laughing at people like that, you know?
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's well said. And that's the thing, you know, that's always the thing with like we keep going back to, is that comedians aren't supposed to be sexy.
Right.
But now we're in this new era,
right?
Where, especially with women, I mean, almost, I would say at least 75% of the female comedians are all extremely attractive nowadays.
Yeah, there's definitely a good amount of them, sure.
Yeah. So, you know, we've come a long way in that regard, I guess. So we got that going for us. Yeah, so now it's time for your number 3. Who do you got for number 3, Mitch?
And number 3 is Whitney Cummings.
Nice, great pick.
And I'll tell you why I picked Whitney for number 3. I picked Whitney for number 3 because Whitney is very pretty on camera and stuff, but I worked with her. I opened for her about 2 or 3 years ago somewhere. We did a theater show together. And when you see her in person, it's kind of like, have you ever like seen someone in person and you're like, oh, I get it.
You guys are animals. You're fucking animals. But it's not your fault. It is actually not your fault. I just read a study that guys think about sex at least every 5 minutes, which is not even like funny. This is like, it's like sad. It's like you have a mental illness, you know?
Whitney has a look. You were talking about Natasha's look.
Yeah.
So when she looks at you, so I remember meeting Bill Clinton back in the day, maybe right after he was president. I was working for the Tonight Show.
Right.
And I didn't even like Bill Clinton. And he looked at me and I was like, I love Bill Clinton. and what people always said is that when he looked at you, he made you feel like you were the most important person in the world. He has these really beautiful blue eyes. And I remember he looked at me and he was like, hey, whatever. And I was like, okay, I like Bill Clinton. His wife made my dick fall off, but he was just a good-looking guy, not just engaging. I put Whitney in that same thing. When I met Whitney, she has these very interesting eyes. Have you ever worked with her?
Never worked with her, but I know what you're talking about.
They're very bedroomy.
Yeah.
And I was thinking to myself, like, we are both peers, and I can't look at her with love in my eyes, but I remember like going like, oh my God, I don't know if I could kiss her. Like, I think I would just, she's just beautiful. I mean, she was, and she went on, she destroyed, she kills, and she's got a likability about her, and she's just, you know, sexy as shit, so.
The reason you guys think about sex all the time is because women are gorgeous. When you guys see women, of course you want to have sex with them because all women are beautiful. We're not as obsessed with sex because you guys are fucking disgusting. I'm sorry. You're hideous. Your penises? How dare you with those things?
She's the full package as well, Whitney Cummings.
Yes.
And I remember her, you talk about Howard Stern. I think she was on, like, Howard Stern had a contest of the hottest comedians or something like that. I think she won it.
Oh, I think she won. I think you're right.
Yeah.
Was it, or it was her or April Macy? One of them won.
Yeah.
Or maybe both of them. I don't know.
Yeah. He might have done one, or maybe did two of them. Because I remember April Macy also had won it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She had won. So.
Yeah.
I think she did. I don't remember, but whatever.
Right. but yeah, Whitney Cummings is another one who just kind of radiates sex appeal.
Yes.
Just from her face, and then when you, like you said, like from her eyes, it just comes out. She's just a beautiful woman,
Right.
and then the rest of her, she's got a great body, a great way about her,
Yes.
and her style, joke telling, her confidence as well. I think that comes from being in control. Like she's produces so many television shows, and comes from a place of power almost.
Yeah.
And I think that comes through. Like she's like.
That's a good way to put it. That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah. So great number 3.
And so when I did work with her, like it was very weird. It's very rare I've worked with someone that I thought like, okay, I'd give my family for that. If like I kept thinking like if Whitney said like, hey, before the show, I like someone to fluff me and go down on me. Like, and I was her opener, so it'd be like, so you kind of have to do this. I'd be like, well, if I have to, I want to help out the headliner. And, whereas if, any other comedian said, I'd be like, well, I can't do that. I'm married. But I think at this point, and then I tell my wife, I had to do it. I'm the opener, and you like our pool? I got to pay the fucking bills, honey.
Yeah. I would even just tell my wife, I'm like, have you seen Whitney Cummings? I couldn't say no. There was no way.
Okay. Yeah. You're a little more honest than me. Yeah.
If your girl's having an orgasm, she's going, do not fucking move! I swear to God, I'll fucking kill you! Faster! Slower! Kiss me on the mouth, God damn it!
Your marriage will probably last a little longer than mine.
Yeah, right. All right, so that's fantastic. I love Whitney Cummings. My number 3, I went with when I was young, I always loved stand-up comedy since I was a little kid, and through the 80s boom and all that stuff. And I had a serious crush on this next one, whose whole act, she labels herself as the sex goddess, and it's Judy Tenuta. So
wow, I wouldn't have called that. I love that you had that, because I'm not going to tell you, but my next one is going to be one of those where you're like, huh, okay. And I like that, yeah.
Yeah. Judy Tenuta, when I was a kid coming up, watching stand-up comedy all the time, I just loved everything about her. Her essence, the way she dressed, her jokes, even what she would do the thing with her voice, you pigs, and all that kind of stuff. And she had a dominance vibe to her. And, she spit her gum at men, you dirty pig, and all that stuff.
And there was something about her that just got you going.
Yeah.
I'm the kind of woman who sits by the phone and waits for some man to call. Crawl for it. You stud puppet! Look at you with your legs open like there's almost any hope.
Yes. It was definitely something about her. She had a powerful energy, very sexual, and I feel like she could easily seduce somebody in that character.
Can't say that I get it. I will say I did fuck Emo Phillips once on the road because I thought he was very sexy.
She is the female emo, yeah.
Well, weren't they married or something for a little while?
They might have been. I know they toured together for a long time. So
I know there was something between them, but
yeah.
But yeah, I don't get that. I was a big Judy Tenuta fan, but I never saw her as sexual.
No. Oh, you know who's kind of hot for me now, though? Donald Trump. Is he? Well, you know what happened? I was on the Trump shuttle. Yeah, I was riding Trump. And who hasn't been?
But my next pick is in exactly that same vein, where you'll maybe go like, okay. So I'll wait until it's my turn. But
oh no, go ahead.
Okay, so my next pick, very similar to you, goes back to my childhood. And it's going to be someone that you'll know, but maybe a lot of the new generation doesn't know. She used to go on Letterman all the time. She's known as ugly. People call her ugly. And I remember being so attracted to her that I was like, I met her once and I still was like, oh my God, I just fell for her. And it's Sandra Bernhard.
Sandra, amazing pick. It's not weird to me because she's she's my number one.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah, so this is great. So Sandra Bernhard is your number two, and I agree. Tell me why. What makes Sandra Bernhard like? Do you remember the first time you ever saw her?
Yes. So when I was a 14 or 15-year-old boy, I had a really bad home life. My mom and dad fought all the time. They didn't particularly like me. I didn't like them, but I had this one routine, and I'll admit it to you and your audience. I had this one routine when they went to bed, nighttime was mine. From 12:30 to 1:30, I would watch the Letterman show. And from 1:30 to 2:30 or 3, I'd watch porn. Because I could get away with it. My parents were asleep. I'd put in a videotape and I'd watch all the porn back then. Anyway, for some reason, so that was my sexy time almost. And I remember seeing Sandra Bernhard come on, and she held herself, and she was slim and sexy, and kind of like would come on to Dave, and like they would all joke about how ugly she was and stuff, and she had these big lips, but I just found her like, I don't know what it was, but there was something just dirty about her. And I liked porn stars, and and I could like picture her as a kid, like doing stuff to me, going, come on, you give it to me. Like I could just picture it. And she was mean, but sexy.
Slave to the rhythm, slave to the rhythm.
And I worked with her once. I saw her once somewhere, and I had problems talking to her because it brought back that childhood attraction.
Man, that's so great that you said that, because I had the same thing. For me, I remember the first time I saw her, definitely on the Letterman show and all that. But what I think the turning point for me was when I definitely was extremely sexually attracted to her was when the King of Comedy in that movie with De Niro and Jerry Lewis.
Yes.
And they kidnapped
Good
Jerry
job.
Lewis.
Good job.
And they tie Jerry Lewis up.
Yeah.
And she seduces him. Well, she starts singing to him, and she's kissing him and stuff. He's all tied up and gagged.
Right.
But I just remember thinking, oh my God, this woman is so friggin' sexy. And then
I think maybe because we were kids, she seemed in control, and she had that look of like every little boy's fantasy is you're mowing the lawn and the mom answers the door and she's not that attractive, but she's sexy. She's like, get in here, I'm gonna do something. Like Sandra had that about her.
Let's do something crazy tonight. Just get insane. I wanna be crazy. I wanna be nuts. I want some fun. God damn it, my doctor says don't have any fun. You can't have fun. No, you're not allowed to have a good time. You can't get crazy. See, I have to be in control. And I like being in control. But you know, for one night, I'd like to see myself out of my head. Wouldn't you like to see me out of my head? Wouldn't that be great? Wouldn't that be fabulous?
And like you talk about Kavorka, like that essence, there's something that they just radiate that you can't capture in a photograph, or you can't explain it. There's just something sexual about that person, and some people have that Kavorka, and I think she has that. That also, and also just the way she carries herself, her confidence exudes, her fearlessness, even the way she would handle Letterman on those things. She never was afraid of him. She would just give it right back to him, and
sexuality was so outwards, and it kind of proved to you that you don't have to be typically beautiful or typically sexy to be sexy. And I remember thinking, I wonder if Letterman's attracted to her, because like I could just see her with those skinny legs jumping on me, and he used to put her down. If you look back, like he would put her down about how like kind of ugly she was in a weird sort of way, and a lot of people did that.
You're a very attractive woman, and
That's something I can't get used to.
No, you are. You must know that.
Sometimes I do, and I look in the mirror at a certain angle, I go, God, you are lovely. And then I look at another angle, I go, you're frightening.
Well, but you have very unique beauty. I mean, you're not.
And I wonder if she embraced that, if that hurt her. These are the things that as you become adults, you go, I wonder if that person could ever just talk honestly about like, yeah, I always hurt my feelings, but I just did, this is why I dealt with it that way, and stuff, because I was never considered attractive, but when I was becoming a successful comedian, girls would be like, oh, he's so hot, because when I was on stage, would be like, no one was fucking me when I worked at Denny's. So they make you into something when you're on stage. And so I wonder if Sandra Bernhard knew that, like, knew.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. I think that the more she was put down probably gave her more strength to become even more sexy. Oh yeah, you want to think, you want to call me ugly? Well, now, she puts it on a little bit, and then all of a sudden you want to fuck her, and you're like, and she's like, told you, you know what I mean? Like I showed them type of thing.
And I wonder if I picture her as amazing in bed. Imagine if you found out like she wasn't even good in bed, but like, was that just an attitude? Was it a little girl that was like, felt sad inside trying to be outward? Like, as you grow old, you realize there's so many psychological issues, but like I loved her and I still love her. Like I said, when I met her, I was almost breathless. I almost wanted to kiss her. I was so nervous. And she was hard. She was weird when you met, like big lips and just, I was still very attracted to her.
Yeah. And she got a jazzy way about her. Like I can see her like,
way to put it.
Like incense light burning and just this, I just always picture her like in this kind of vibe.
And I love you, I love you, I love you like never before.
Great pick there. So now I'll go with my number 2. I'm going to go with Ali Wong.
She's the girl who did the pregnant special.
Yeah, she does the pregnant specials. She's
She got almost a Sandra Bernhard thing going in a weird sort of way. She's very outwardly sexy.
She's outwardly sexy. The way she carries herself, her sense of humor too. She's got a glow to her when she performs too. Like if you watch her, just the way she's similar to Eddie Murphy in that way. The way she paces the stage and just confronts the sexuality.
I'm just gonna let it all grow out. I'm just gonna let it cha-cha-cha-chia. I am, because it takes too long to trim. It takes an hour. I don't have an hour to just, you have to take off your pants and then you stand over the toilet and you lower your eyeglasses like Angela Lansbury and just trim, trim, trim. Trim, chimney, trim, chimney, trim, trim, trim.
I do think that she's very sexual and sensual on stage as well. And even when she has specials when she's not pregnant, but even when she is pregnant, she still kind of carries that, and that's even harder to do.
Yeah, and I think what you're bringing up is a great point, which is people don't realize that like comedy and comedians isn't just about like saying funny stuff. It's a charisma, it's a presence, it's a confidence, and she has all of those. She's just got something that is really sexy. It's almost like, and I'm not putting them down, it may sound like this is a put down, but it's not. It's just the only way I can put it as a male, which is if you've ever gone into a strip club, there's strippers that just kind of sit and dance and don't really, and just go like, and then there's strippers that just own it. They walk around with a certain aura about them that you're almost nervous getting a dance with them, giving them your money. Like, my wife and I have been to strip clubs before. My wife likes to go to strip clubs with me, and there'll be girls that make my wife and I think that they like us, like that they want to come home with us. Right. And my wife, well, every now and then if she drinks, she'll do something like that. She'll bring a girl home with us, whatever. It's rare, but
nice.
It's rare, so I don't want to. It's rare, but yeah, when it happens, it's an amazing moment. If she's in the mood and a hot stripper says like, "I want to come home with you guys," which has happened, but not a lot. So I don't want you to think I'm a hero. It's just it has happened. And
the fact that it's happened makes you my hero right now.
It makes it kind of cool. But so we've been at clubs where a girl was talking to us, and my wife Jess will be like, "She likes us. I'll get her home with us." And then we'll say like, "Hey, here's our number. Give us a call." And then the girl will never call, and then Jess and me will be like, she got us, she had us. And she made us think she liked us. And me and Jess always go like, we're never pissed at that, because we're like, if she's that good that she made us think that we were special, then she did her job.
Right.
We're like, that's kind of cool. So Ali Wong has almost that, she makes you think that like she's gonna like you and she's gonna be fun with, but it's an act, and it's a presence that's very, very undeniable, and I get that,
I once hooked up with a man who refused to put it in the bag. Yeah, he refused. I was like, you're an idiot, dude. Do you realize that if I went on Craigslist and posted tiny Asian female seeking anal, the website would crash?
That's awesome and a great way to put it. And you are my hero now officially, by the way, too.
I'll send you some pictures.
Yes.
Me and my wife having sex with pregnant Ali Wong.
All right, so now we're already at the number one spot already,
Okay.
Mitch. So who's your number one?
It was easy for me. I'll explain why. You'll probably understand it, but I'll give you some also reasoning. My number one is an easy one. When you told me this, it came up immediately. My number one sexiest comedian in the history of the world is Sarah Silverman.
Yes, Sarah Silverman.
Sarah Silverman still to this day, I believe she is an absolute diamond of a person. She's just rare. There is a sexiness in the way she looks, in the way she acts, in the way she talks, and she's fucking funny. I mean, I just can't believe that God gave so much to one human being.
I noticed there seems to be semen on the, I think it's called a duvet, or a comforter. And also, there's also some on like the nightstand. And also I noticed there's cum all over my tits. I'm sorry.
And I started out with Sarah, and Sarah gave me the best compliment that she probably doesn't remember, and it stuck with me through my entire life. Has anyone ever said something to you in school, a girl said something to you and you're like, they don't even know that you just for the rest of your life, like said like a hot girl touched you, was like, you're so funny. And they don't know that that's gotten you through like the hardest times in your life.
Right.
Well, I came off stage once at the Comedy Store in California, and Sarah just leans over and she whispers in my ear, do you know that when you're on stage, every girl wants to fuck you? Sarah said that to me.
Nice.
And I didn't know it, and I don't think it was true, but what I knew is that at that point, Sarah was attracted to me. And do you know that, like, I still was like, oh, okay, thanks, and just walked out. Like, I could have said, like, well, what about you, Sarah? Like,
right.
I had Joe Rogan or freaking confidence, but I didn't. And I, you know, and looking back now, I know she slept with every comedian, and she's proud of it. And maybe I could have been in there, but I was just too nervous because she was to me the cool girl in high school.
Yeah.
And that stuck with me forever, that she said that to me and gave me a lot of confidence that I never had. And it is true. When I was on stage, I was a different person. I had this vulnerability that I think a lot of girls noticed and liked and wanted to fuck me because I was so sweet that they almost wanted to corrupt me, kind of thing. And
Right. That's the thing I love about you with your act, with what you do, is it's very sexual, very, very dirty in a lot of ways, but yet it's innocent because of the way you portray it. And that's the beauty of what you do, and that's what makes it funny too. And that's just when I watch your stuff, dude, it's timeless. It's always funny.
Thank you, man.
But I like small breasts. They're sexy. They have more personality. Small breasts are like, hi, can I help you with something? And you're like, no, I'm just looking.
Yeah,
man. I'm a dad now, and I'm married, happy, conservative dad. But I got to tell you, the one thing I want to give to my kid that I look back on now is like, I wish I would have been nicer to myself, because I do look back at that and I'm like, man, that was pretty cool to pull off what I pulled off. But you don't know you're pulling it off. You're just living your life. You know, like I don't know if necessarily Sarah or Joe or any of us back then knew that we were special. We felt it, but we wouldn't, and then you look back and you're like, I wish I would have just enjoyed it a little more. So I appreciate that. But that was what Sarah had. Sarah had this kind of like, she was just above everybody else. And I remember she said something one day on a roast. Someone made fun of her age, and she took it like a man. Like she was like, but she also admitted in an interview that it hurt her feelings.
Well, when I make fat jokes about Jonah, it's funny, but when he makes jokes about being old, that's not funny.
Did you ever see that?
I saw the interview. I'm trying to remember who insulted her. I think it was like Patrice O'Neill or somebody.
No, I think it was, Jonah Hill. Jonah Hill put her down in a roast and said something, and it was hilarious, about her being an old comedian. And she admitted that it hurt her feelings, but she's like, but I gave him a lot of shit and he gave it back to me.
Seriously, Sarah, you were my favorite comic as a kid. Sarah is a role model for every little girl out there. I mean, every little girl dreams of being a 58-year-old single stand-up comedian with no romantic prospects on the horizon. They all dream of it, but Sarah did it.
I remember thinking, and every time I see her still, she says hi to me and she's nice to me, and I wouldn't know what to do if she stripped down right now. I would get nervous. She's so perfect to me.
I always loved Sarah Silverman also, and she's the first, I think, to me, the first pretty comedian that would throw the curveballs with like shock value, where you'd be all of a sudden she would say something about and then my pussy itches or something like that, and you're like, what the holy shit, and, and I think she started a whole genre now, because if you look at down the line of what half of these the Nikki Glaciers of the world are doing now, and
very
even
similar, correct.
And they all take it from her. She's the kind of the godmother of that kind of I think you got Mom's Maybelline. You could argue that sexual shock comedy goes all the way back with women, but for a pretty girl to say it,
from a really pretty girl,
I completely bonded with a man, completely non-sexually, the other day. Isn't that important? I was walking out and he was going to pee on the side of my building, and but nothing was coming out, so I went behind him and I went.
I remember one of her jokes is she's like, I have a friend, and she said to me, does my breath smell like tacos? And Sarah said, I don't know. Do you put shit in your tacos? And I just remember thinking that was just really ballsy and just mean, and it was just funny. And so,
that's great.
The way I can express how much I love this cheese, and I honestly have exhausted every other possibility. I want to fuck this cheese. I want to fuck it. I don't even want to be the girl. I want to be the man. I want to fuck it. Like it's shorter than me. I've got to get under it to get into like the tiny cheese pussy.
That's awesome. Great number one. Like I said, my number one pick, I agree with you on your number two there, Sandra Bernhard.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah, we covered a lot of Sandra already, but I just, Sandra is definitely, to me, she's an icon of comedy. I wish she would get more, I wish she would be in the conversation more when people talk about top-rated comedians.
I agree.
I
agree with that. Why is she not? That's not fair.
Right, yeah, because she's done a lot, and a lot for female comedians, too. I think she did bring a sense of sexuality to the table, to the stage, that might not have been before her. Like you said, a stripper vibe almost, or very sexual, jazzy type of burlesque vibe to the table. So, I think she also changed the game and opened up, broke down some walls of what can be done in stand up especially for women, but for everyone.
No, you couldn't hear me talking because I was doing the showbiz.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. And I never saw her act. I don't necessarily know if she was quote unquote a comedian as much as a presence. I think she was just one of these people that like, she was just so fun to watch and be in the room and you would laugh because that's what you were supposed to do. So maybe she's left out of the conversation because she was never really known for her witty writing. She wasn't even ever really known as just a stand-up comedian. She was so many things, like Joe Rogan is so many things.
Right, yeah.
So maybe she was in a weird sort of way pigeonholed into like, she wasn't ever really known as a comedian, but she goddamn straight was. I mean, if you go on stage with a mic and you know, she's one of these girls that like transcended it almost. She wasn't just a comedian, she was a presence, you know?
Awesome. Great way to say it.
But this could be one of those show business nights that you will never forget. And I don't know why yet, and I'm scared. But I feel the tension mounting, building. Somebody's mounting somebody somewhere.
So now we got all 10, and now's the hard part, Mitch. This is when we have to break it down into final top 5. Okay. And so here's the list so far. We started off with Joe Rogan and Eddie Murphy. And we got Karen Feehan.
Yeah.
Then Natasha Legero. Then we have Whitney Cummings, Judy Tenuta, Sandra Bernhard, Ali Wong, and Sarah Silverman. And we both agree with Sandra Bernhard. So normally what we do is when we both agree, they get fast-tracked to the final top 5.
That's easy.
So we know that Sandra Bernhard will make the, she's up there now. So now, who do you think else should make it definitely?
Well, let's look at the ones that we both agreed on strongly. We both agreed Sarah Silverman strongly.
Yes.
So she's got to be in the top 5.
I think Sarah Silverman definitely makes it. I think she's also icon status. I think she changed the game. I think she opened up doors, and I think there's a lot of women that copied her or were inspired by her. And she's definitely a trailblazer for sure. So so Sarah Silverman. This is turning out to be a really strong list.
Now I'm going to think we have to take away 1 or 2 to get down to that list. So the 1 or 2 that I would take away are the ones that like we both kind of understood, but we didn't necessarily like go 100% in on with the other person. Like for instance, so I would say that like Whitney Cummings, we both agreed, but it wasn't a no-brainer like a Sandra. So maybe you take out a Whitney, and I would say on my side to take out Natasha because I like Natasha, but I've never thought about her in the terms I've thought about a Sarah or a I mean I hate to do that because it's like they're still gorgeous, insanely funny women, but if we're gonna go, we have to go like which are the ones that we didn't agree with 100. You know what I'm saying?
Right. No, I agree with you. I think too. So I'm looking at the list here, and so I could understand that. I think if you like, also there's the Judy Tenuta. So if you had to choose between like, so we have three spots left, right?
3 spots left. I think we got to take out Judy because that didn't do it for me. So.
Right. So you weren't on board with Judy, but what about now? We got the 2 guys here, Rogan and Eddie Murphy.
All right, so we're going to have to actually say, like, we have to take one of them out because there's only going to be one guy on the list. So I would say that's a tough one, right? They're both kind of like, oh my God, they both achieved so much and they both known as still good-looking guys. I mean, I would say Eddie does have that knock on him and maybe being caught with a transvestite in his car. So maybe that brings him down a notch in sexiness for me.
So it's weird between the 2 of them. If you put Eddie Murphy versus Joe Rogan, it's tough when it comes to being a sexy comedian. Because Eddie Murphy kind of was, like we said, like maybe the first one to break down that wall, and Joe Rogan is the current one.
Right.
It's and Joe Rogan. It is now the like one of the voice of our generation.
Voice of our generation, yeah.
Yeah, that is tough, but I think that Joe Rogan does edge him out because
barely.
Just because, like you said, he's because he's relevant now. And Eddie's still relevant too. I know what I'm trying to say. I just don't know if I'm saying.
I know what you're trying to say. Eddie's still relevant, but Eddie's more of like riding icon status, whereas Joe is still kind of like in the game.
Right.
Not that Eddie's not in the game, just that Eddie's more icon status. Madonna's still in the game, but she's not really as relevant as like she would have been back in the day.
Right.
So if you had to go singer-wise, Taylor Swift or Madonna, I'd go Taylor Swift. Not that she's more talented, but she's the more relevant kind of, future icon. So.
Right. All right. That makes sense to me. And
Does that work?
Yeah. So we go Joe Rogan. So currently we have Joe Rogan, Sarah Silverman, and Sandra Bernhard have made the list. Okay. I also, I do think, I love that you put in Karen Feehan. I think she is a rising star. She's been in the scene for a long time. First time I ever saw her was a roast battle, and I was like, I love this chick. Yeah. So I think it would be good to have a rising star on the list.
Well, Karen is the one that out of everybody I would have sex with if I could. So, I mean, I'm insanely attracted to her. So I would have to say yeah on that. I mean, to the point that even the love of my life, Sarah Silverman, if it was between Sarah and Karen at this point, Karen's going to do much more dirty stuff. And Sarah, if I had to just look at it, so I'd have to Karen wins that one, yeah.
So then that would leave
one spot.
Ali, yeah, and on our list, we've gotten rid of it. I think that leaves Ali Wong, but I would like to trade out Ali Wong for Natasha Legero.
And then that's our 5?
Then that will be our 5.
I mean, yeah, that's an easy one for me. I go, yeah, of course, on that one.
All right,
yeah.
so here is how we have it now, and it's not really in order.
Dom's top 5.
Yes.
Sexiest comedians of all time.
This is it, right?
So
we have Natasha Laguerro. Why do I keep saying her name wrong? It's Legero, right? Natasha Legero at number 5. Karen Feehan at number 4. Number 3, Joe Rogan. Number 2, Sarah Silverman. The number 1 sexiest comedian of all time is Sandra Bernhard.
I love it. I'm so happy with that list. Print it up. Get a copy over to me. We'll get a copy out to all of them. We'll have them all on the show.
Dude, great list, and you rock, man, dude. I appreciate you doing this. What a great list.
And what I can promise you is nobody in that list would say that we're in their top 5 sexiest comedians.
Say, Sandra, what's her name? Sarah Silverman might say you are.
Well, maybe, yeah. Maybe she remembers. I mean, maybe in my mind, this may have been a stupid dream that she'll be like, I never said that, but I remember it, so I don't know.
Well, Mitch, you're the best, man. I appreciate you doing this.
I had a great time.
I know you got the new special coming out, Bad Girl special. Tell everybody else. December.
More importantly, I'm putting tons of videos on my Facebook site now that are really funny. It's facebook.com/Mitch Fatel, MITCHFATEL. Instagram is at TheRealFatel. Join those 2 things and watch my videos and share them. That's very important to me, and that would be a great service and favor to me if you guys could share those videos.
Excellent. Will do. And I appreciate you doing this. Thanks again, Mitch Fatel, for doing this. And you rock, my friend.
Hey, bye, guys.
Well, there you have it, folks. There's the top 5 sexiest comedians of all time that me and Mitch came up with. Hope you guys liked it. And please, again, leave your top 5 list in the comments below. We'd love to read it. So hope you enjoyed the show. And we'll be back next week with another top 5.